Hi, my name is Esperanza Soriano McCreary. I'm the Parent Engagement Specialist for the Clarksville-Montgomery County School System. And on this episode of Engage TV, I'm joined by Emily Vaughn, Director of Instruction and Curriculum for K through 5. Hi, Emily. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the clear learning targets. Let's define that for our parents.
Sure. So our students are given a set of state standards that define the outcomes for their grade level content or course. And teachers take those pretty broad statements and define those into clear learning targets. And those learning targets are smaller stair steps that define what happens each day in a lesson. And so that really helps our students know exactly what they are to know and be able to do at the end of each lesson.
So where can parents find information on that breakdown that you just mentioned?
Parents can always access our Curriculum Navigator by going onto the website under Students and Parents, and it's listed as Curriculum. And on that site, the curriculum is broken down into units by grade level and course area, and that shows the parents exactly what the student will be doing within that time frame. So for example, it will show what will be happening in the first 3 weeks in reading or in the first unit in math, and will allow them to see the standards.
So the standards should pretty much match up with whatever worksheets or homework assignments are coming home in the backpack.
The standards do align in that way. However, many times teachers will write the clear target on a worksheet or an assessment, so that kind of takes that big standard again and breaks it down to that smaller piece, that learning target.
So parents should sort of become familiar with the term clear learning targets.
Absolutely. Learning targets really help define what happens in each lesson, and those then again build to get to that greater outcome or expectation for the end of the school year.
How can parents take that information that they'll find on the curriculum on our school website to support learning at home?
So I think, we usually ask that age-old question of, what did you do at school today?
And the answer is?
And oftentimes the response is nothing, because it is difficult for students to take what they did in that long period of time and break it down. And so instead of using that language and just asking your child, what were your learning targets today in math, or what were your learning targets today in science? That allows the student even to take that into a smaller chunk and share what they did in class that day.
And I think one step further even from that is that it tells parents what language is being used in the classroom so they can match that language at home.
And I think too, another resource for parents is to look on teacher websites or in teacher newsletters, also on the top of that student work, as I shared earlier, or on assessments, to see exactly that standard that's broken down into those smaller pieces that helps you know exactly how you can help your child at home too.
How does PowerSchool help in all of this, or does it at all?
PowerSchool now can be linked directly to standards, and so some of our teachers will start doing that this school year. In kindergarten and first grade, our grade levels there are standards based in terms of reporting, and so the reports come home and they are aligned to the standards. And in 2nd through 12th, you're looking at that overall grade. And so as we get to know more about the new PowerSchool upgrade, we'll be able to see how grades can be linked directly to standards, which will help parents know exactly what that assessment covered.
But it also gives parents access to the students' grades and attendance history. We talked about high schoolers. And if parents want assistance in creating a parent account, there is a PowerSchool video on Engage TV for parents to be able to do that.
And that's a great resource.
Yes, absolutely. So the takeaway for parents in this entire conversation would be?
Ask your child what were the learning targets in their class that day.
Probably one of the most important questions a parent can ask when that child comes home to do homework.
Yes.
So what are our next steps?
Our next steps for parents are to better align our standards and our clear targets. So on the Curriculum Navigator resource for parents, we want to upload the clear learning targets so they can see both the overarching standard and the learning targets for the classroom.
Emily, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining me on this episode of Engage TV.